Here we are, Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This 2017 horror fiction mystery is a mashup between Scooby-Doo and the Lovecraft mythos. We're going to dive all into that and get it, into the specifics. If this is your first time listening to us, we are the Bookies. We are a book club podcast. We have nothing to do with online gaming or gambling. If you'd like to support this podcast and our other ventures, please check out patreon.com/Destiny Comics. That's comics, C-O-M-I-X. Where you can get various book paraphernalia, or come check us out at destinycomics.weebly, where you can go to our store and buy our books and merchandise directly from us. Once again, thank you for your time and support. We couldn't do it without listeners like you. With that said, we're going to jump into this month's episode. Sorry, wrong. I can't breathe anymore. But anyway, we're going to jump into this episode of Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. Hope you enjoy.
Laugh has been described as a chuckle.
Right.
The British guy, I know.
That one British guy. Well, the British teenager.
If you feel the need to read it,
Check it out from the library.
I don't
support your local.
Told the parent. No. And we are the Bookies.
You could pick one to download early and read before it was out.
Oh, nice.
So that's when I got it, and I mean it was during the lockdown. I was like, I stayed up late reading it.
Usually I wait till a month of because I want it to be fresh in my mind. And I mean,
right.
Like I said, I finished this book the week after we had the last club meeting, and I'm already starting to forget details. And that's only been 1 month. So usually I'm like, okay,
right.
I'll read the book when we're reading it.
That's why I write a lot of notes.
Mm-hmm.
But then
pages and pages of notes.
I know I've got a whole bunch of notes on this one on my phone. But then I was originally going to lend Dave our copy of the book.
And then you got me one for Valentine's
Day.
So the narrator for the
Audible version, really good narrator. He's a really good narrator.
Yes.
Well, Brandon usually gets his audiobooks to Audible, so maybe I'll give it a go.
That one's a really good narrator. Justin actually purchased another book that was narrated by that guy because he's such a good narrator. It's a detective law book,
Ooh, nice. my bread and butter.
Right.
All right, we are the Bookies. I am Brandon Noel.
I'm Justin Stallard.
Bonnie Stallard.
Wayne Abraham. David McFarland.
Maylene Noel.
And we are the Bookies. This month we are reading Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. Wayne, this was your submission. You want to tell us a little bit about the book and why you put it in?
I liked it.
Okay.
It is a cross between Scooby-Doo and the Cthulhu mythos, and I like both of those genres.
But how did you find it in the first place?
I found it on a YouTube video.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know Wayne was an early, because this thing came out in 2017, and Wayne gave me a copy of it in 2017. So, we have early edition of the book, first edition.
I don't know what mine is.
So a little summary.
Mm-hmm.
A little summary. Okay. Back in 1977, a group of 4 teenagers, 2 guys, 2 gals, and their dog, solved the mystery of the Sleepy Lake Monster. And they found it was, the old guy in
The monster suit.
the monster suit.
Classic Scooby-Doo.
And so they wrapped it up.
And that was their last case. They'd done a bunch of cases before that.
They had done other cases before that, but that was their last case. Yeah, Thomas X. Wickley was the guy who they captured in the suit. And then Andrea, she confronts Wickley after he's out on parole.
Like 15 years later.
Right.
The main part of the story is 15 years later.
Yes. And she realizes that it wasn't him. And so it's like...
It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
He was there.
He was there in his
He
suit.
was
He
there.
was looking for gold.
He was in the room where it happened.
So they decided to... She decides to round the gang up and return and get to the bottom of it. And so that's what the story is about, in essence.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the writing. Edgar Cantero is Spanish. English is his second language. I wouldn't have been able to tell it from a
I'll
lot of...
explain some phrases. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what editing is for.
And he just... Yeah, there were some turns of phrase that he used.
They seemed kind of like Britishisms or something. There were certain things. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and there were also a few meta things. I bookmarked one of them. It was towards the end, but it says Tim was faster than the girls and managed to grab a hold of Nate's jeans, but the creature was already dragging him down to the basement. In a single second, Nate screamed for help, his dreams ripped out of Tim's mouth.
Jeans. Jeans.
His jeans ripped,
Yeah, right.
yes. He was yanked down the stairs and the door slammed shut. It stayed closed for the quantum time length before Andy swung it open again, but in that enableable lapse, everything beyond the door was gone. Struggling shapes and screams, light and sound. Carrie and Andy and Tim found themselves peering into a flat black rectangle of darkness and interplanetary silence. And then you've got this blank spot here that's obviously the end of the end of the chapter or whatever. And then top of this page, fuck this, Andy spat at the intended end of the chapter, pulling out the flare gun from her pocket and shooting into the dark.
Right.
He does that
a few times.
a few times,
Mhm.
and
Did what?
Breaks the fourth wall.
It's like reading, like they're reading from a
a
movie
script or
script
something.
or
Every now and again that happens.
I didn't even notice or care.
We're gonna have.
I'm gonna have words later.
Some of us don't like to look into the fourth wall.
so
I've got an opinion. I'll mention it later.
I enjoyed it when he did that because he didn't do it excessively. I didn't feel. I'm getting some
really care.
expressions
It-
around
It's okay.
the table.
You're sharing your things. We're not
This
talking.
is what you like, Wayne.
Yeah.
We're not judging you in silence at all.
I looked at it as a break where I could put my bookmark and go up to the counter and get a free refill of soda and come back and start over again. Yay! So it didn't affect me at all, and I never even noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed how they gather the crew. They aren't able to gather Peter
Yeah, he died.
because he died due to a drug overdose.
That's the Fred character.
Yeah, the Fred character.
Sort of.
Kind of.
Yeah. But
Well, they're
Yeah,
playing
he
with.
was the closest to
He
Fred.
was the
Yes.
jock.
Yeah.
They're playing with archetypes, but
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
ripping off Scooby-Doo.
but not even Scooby Doo had other Scooby Doos to parody, right? They're it's
Yeah,
not.
Yeah, no, he was the Fred
So for the
character.
bare basics, for those listening who have not read it, he would be the Fred analog.
Mhm.
Not exactly
Yeah.
like Fred, but
Right, close. Fred's the
to.
closest. Nate, I guess, is supposed to be kind of like Shaggy,
Yes,
Yeah.
but he's not the one attached to the dog.
that's.
That's the Daphne character,
I'm okay with that
I
because
thought it was more the Velma character.
the Velma character,
Yeah.
but she's got red hair like Daphne, so it threw me off for a
Yeah.
second until I found out she's Velma.
yeah, I'm okay with that because if you're gonna do an analog, you need to make changes.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that.
Sorry, I'm just saying, like threw me off.
But yeah, there in
But-
most Scooby Doo, there's that bromance.
nobody. Well, the dog and the girls are oblivious of Peter's presence, but Nate sees him pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Peter's hanging around, and you're
His
never
ghost.
you're never certain
Hallucinations.
if Peter is an actual ghost or if he's a hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate, I don't think, is certain for sure which
sure.
it is. He would
He
like.
kind of hopes it is just a hallucination. to be
Yeah,
honest.
he really hopes it's a hallucination, but he's not.
But
positive.
you don't see him after you come across Peter's reanimated corpse towards the end of the book. You never see the ghost or hallucination after that point.
That's
I
true.
honestly think that his mind by then is probably so overwhelmed with what's happening that he doesn't have to think about that anymore.
Right.
Well, he read from the Necronomicon, so it broke him.
Oh,
That's what that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Dumbass.
Don't read from the Necronomicon. That's
Yeah.
rule number one.
Especially out loud,
Right?
you idiot!
Yeah. And that's amazing.
Because you don't read the Necronomicon, the Necronomicon reads you.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yeah. So
All right. Other things you liked? Favorite parts?
I liked the canary when they went down into the
that was
mines.
funny.
F you it.
Right. That was my favorite part.
And Tim's like, hi, friend.
Come on, you.
F you and especially F you.
Right.
I liked the canary. And I liked the canary that the canary showed up at the end.
Yes.
Even though
It was flying into the forest or something like that.
I call BS on that part. But anyway, go ahead. But the not the canary, the other part of that scene.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It's okay. Go ahead.
So I enjoyed the canary. I enjoyed the fact that Captain Owl was still around and able to help them out. I was sad when his helicopter got destroyed.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that was, yeah.
But
Okay.
But he had a good
Yeah.
funeral.
I
With honors.
I enjoyed it because, like I said, I enjoy Scooby Doo,
And you're a big Cthulhu fan, so.
Cthulhu Mythos fan, so it was like best of both worlds for me.
Right. David, what did you like? What did you like?
What did I like? I thought the book was well written. It was very easy to read. I mean, I tend to, if I ever come up with words that I really can't pronounce, I usually just try to think of what it meant and then just go on. I don't really let it stop me. I'd have to say my favorite character is definitely Captain Owl. I liked him, and I was sad when he died.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I suspected him of being the bad guy for a moment, but I decided it wasn't.
So did I.
I liked him too much.
That's the trope of it. It's
Yeah.
the only other person in the cartoons, the
Right?
bad guy.
Yeah, because I didn't read anything about it, so I didn't even know that there was going to be some kind of Cthulhu turn to it. But as soon as early in the book, when I wrote is the lake in Oregon taking the Cthulhu turn. Arkham Asylum. This is very interesting because I immediately just
right.
because
Yeah.
I'm very
it's
very
Batman.
familiar. I'm very familiar with it. I
Yeah.
in the beginning, I hope they keep Peter in the story as a ghost, or else why create the character in the first place?
Right. I'm except to say, hey, we had the Scooby Gang. One of them's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, are all the gang a little bit messed up?
Oh, they're really, really effed up.
Cthulhu does that to people.
Yes.
In all caps, all people. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, page 90 has a part that is more than 1 page long, because before it was like little bit, turn the page, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. And it was like it was stopping like that.
Right, little scenes.
And then finally on page 90 it was like, whoa, it's more than 1 page long. Oh yeah, right down here. Nate read the Necronomicon. He's fucked. I liked Deputy Copperseed's story of the Fatoga monsters.
Yes,
That was
I
very
like
well
that.
That was
done.
pretty
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, I
that was
like that.
pretty neat because I'm not sure if H.P. Lovecraft covered that in the Call of Cthulhu or not. I don't recall.
think so.
It was new to me.
Yeah,
But it fits.
I
like,
read
it's
so
that
well.
somewhere. Yeah, I read
because the
that.
Toga is an actual
Right.
Cthulhu god, and
Yeah.
and the sea monsters
Yeah.
are in there.
Right.
Is that one? I think that one might be from Shadows over Innsmouth.
Maybe.
I
Maybe.
don't
It's
know.
been a long time.
But yeah.
Because I have my deities and demigods book, and has the Cthulhu mythos in there,
Uh-huh.
and the Toga and the sea
Yeah.
creatures are in there.
Because there's a bunch of
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Let me see.
Sargoa.
And what I thought was funny is I like how Nate explained how the myth of the Toga was found by pulp writers, H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
That's that's not necessarily an original idea.
Yeah.
Right. But it's okay.
In the Collect Call of Cthulhu, the episode of the Real Ghostbusters, they make a point of saying, no, the pulp writers were writing real stuff about Cthulhu, and there's a whole plot point in that episode where they have to go find a bunch of old pulp magazines.
Right.
And then let me see. The next was, yay! The cave is filling up with water. The poor canary tweeting obscene words. That's funny. And then I like their reference to Bob Howard.
I don't even remember what was the reference.
Bob Howard is Robert E. Howard.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the creator
yeah.
of Conan.
Right.
Thank you, yeah.
He did all those pulp things back in the 1930s.
I just didn't remember, yeah.
And one of his friends, a very, very close friend, was H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Well, Cthulhu crosses over
Yeah.
in one Conan story
Yeah.
because they were friends and they did
A little bit of a
Some
thing.
swapping.
some swapping.
I liked how Tim liked his little squeaky penguin.
The squeaky penguin was
That
cute.
It was
Yeah.
funny. I loved it. It had some good moments. It was.
How'd that get in here? It flew in.
Yeah. And
Penguins don't fly.
that was one of the best scenes
when
early
they were,
on in the
and
book.
when they were
Yeah.
trapped in the basement, I thought it was pretty clever that they did a little
Squeak
squeaky
to get-
penguin to get him in there.
To get him to get to them,
find
yeah.
out.
Right, right.
That was pretty clever.
Come get the toy. Come get the toy.
Yeah.
At first, I go, oh wow, I wasn't expecting Peter to be the Phantom in the cloak, and then oh well, update, guess not. And then
Right.
let me see. Oh yeah, one that just made me laugh and just chuckle for a while, and people in Del Taco were like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? The fight scene on page 282 had a lot of commas. 'Cause it just kept on going, comma, kept on going, comma, kept on going, comma, comma, for a whole page.
Well,
Just
like
straight
a page
commas.
and a half that was
Yeah.
a single
A whole
run-on
run-on
sentence.
sentence.
Yeah, a whole
Oh.
sentence. It just kept on
I'm
going.
glad I listened to the Audible. That would have
Yeah.
drove me crazy.
Reading it drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, the audio version, I'm sure it's hilarious. But
Yeah, it
reading
was
on my-
funny.
Yeah, it just
The
kept
audio
on
version
going.
was
And-
funny.
And I even looked back. I go, does this thing have a period somewhere?
Yeah, I didn't say
I
that.
was looking.
I
and it
went back
didn't.
because I'm thinking, am I just in my mind making it a long sentence? Like, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'll say that.
Dunia got blown up by a missile. I laughed because she just went, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then Tim barked a 4-letter word when they were on the boat, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, the spirit hiding in Tim was interesting.
Yes. I liked that part.
And basically it. I got
Okay, all your
what you
fun
meant.
stuff you liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go to the negatives later.
Yes,
Camille,
we
what
will.
did you like about the book?
Real quick, these are my likes up here, and then my dislikes.
Oh wow.
Well, okay. To be fair, a lot of those comments are related to other comments.
Yeah.
So, but I want to make sure I wrote them all down.
Right,
So,
got it.
as I was reading. So,
Okay,
okay.
that's basically what I do.
Yeah. So,
Every time, okay, and make a little comment on that.
I made notes. I left them at work.
But overall, okay. So I will say overall, I did like it. I thought it was a fun story. I liked that it was I was like, ooh, a mystery. I love mysteries. You
Yes.
know. I liked the fact that we had a story where the quote unquote Scooby Gang
Scooby-Doo.
was
Yeah.
older. You know, and
Yeah.
dealing with actual adult stuff. Like in addition
Right.
to this mystery that
Right.
we have, right?
Right.
So the overall concept, I really enjoyed it. I liked the characters. I even liked the Shaggy character. I kind of felt bad for him because it's like, oh my god,
Oh.
like that really messed you up, didn't it?
Right.
You know. As far as specific bits, I loved the scene where they broke him out of the insane asylum.
Yes.
Reverse
Werewolf trap.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at first. He had to, Justin had to explain it to
Yeah.
me. I'm like, I don't remember that. What the hell was that?
So obviously they'd done a werewolf trap,
Yeah.
and they were doing it backwards. The reverse werewolf trap.
So I loved that they were both like,
Because it was all
It
the
was so
traps.
Scooby Doo.
It was
yeah,
so
right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had a name for this particular thing.
Yeah, later they had another one, and I don't remember what it was
I
called,
don't
but it was
remember
like,
what it
yeah,
was,
Stairs.
something.
Yeah.
She yelled something.
And
Why
then-
it was the something carpet, blah, blah, blah. Why
Yeah.
did you just say sweep his feet?
Right. Right.
It was funny. Sorry, go ahead.
It's
I thought of
okay.
it just now.
But I just imagined this. That was a scene that got me kind of chuckling out loud. Like just
Yes.
imagine him coming through, like him tied up. Okay, coming through. You know.
Next
Lauren-
time, dog, go around the furniture, not under it.
Oh, poor Nathan.
That was a good.
It was, yes. Oh, it was good.
Some of the lines I thought was funny that I wrote down. Okay, so as a huge Maggie Smith fan, I loved the Maggie Smith reference. I even looked it up because I was like,
Yeah, I remember there was
there's a
one.
line that says,
Maggie Smith?
yeah, and it says, Tim curled up in a corner of the back seat, sheltering his penguin from the storm, all tense up in scandalized Maggie Smith pose. And I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I probably just skipped over that.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Maggie Smith is.
In Harry Potter, she played the
Professor
female,
McGonagall.
Professor McGonagall, the female teacher.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
You
Head
know her
of
if you saw her.
Yeah,
Did you see Hook?
Who?
Hook, the movie Hook with
from the 90s.
Robin Williams,
I don't know. Probably
Peter Pan.
Okay,
in the
I'm
90s.
sure if you saw
Okay,
it.
you'd recognize her if you
Yeah.
saw her.
She's
Been in a lot
like,
of
oh,
stuff.
that, you know. But she's one of my favorite actresses, so I'm like, oh, that's hilarious, you know. Another one I liked was on page, it's on my copy of the book, page 346. Peter sat as powerless as an overwhelmed female character in a Victorian novel.
Yes.
Oh, I can just imagine, like, oh my goodness, you know, it's like
On the fainting couch.
yeah, hell, I can't do anything else, you know. So there were, comments like that.
Little
So,
bits. Yeah,
little bits here and
things,
there. I was like,
This makes me wonder what Edgar Cantero was reading to actually know that.
Downton Abbey, maybe? I don't know.
right. Hey, Maggie Smith. There you go. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. There was another line that I liked. It said, Tim stepped back, the countenance of 18th century gentleman meeting a time traveler in his face. That's when he first meets a squeaky toy. I was like,
Yes.
so yeah, lots of little lines there, and I really liked Tim the dog. Just
Yes.
I don't know why, just the moments.
But you're
with him.
supposed to. The original show is Scooby Doo.
right.
Named after the dog. You're supposed to like the dog. I super want one now. I looked up what they look like.
Oh really?
They're so pretty. They're like a
look at-
Great Dane, but they have big floppy ears and they're solid gray. And I'm like, I want it. I want one.
Remind me to look it
Yeah,
up
go,
after.
go ahead and clean up after it in the backyard.
I don't want one in this house. It's
Yeah.
too small. I need a property for that.
Yeah,
Big dog.
You're going to need a skip loader to clean up after
I
it.
know. But they're
But-
really pretty.
And yeah, so just I liked the characters. I thought they were all well rounded. They weren't like the traditional, what do you say, 2D characters that obviously you see in the show. I liked some of the fourth wall breaking, but I'll comment in the negatives why I ultimately didn't care for it. I mean,
Well, back when I was a kid, when I watched Scooby-Doo, there was 3 versions of Scooby-Doo.
yeah.
Because you would have had Where Are You, Scooby Doo, the Scooby Doo movies, and then
There was no Scooby-Doo movies when I was
no. That was the name of the show. That's the Scooby-Doo movie is the 45-minute episodes where they would cross over with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh yeah,
Batman
those
or-
dumb things.
Yeah. Don't say dumb.
They were horrible.
I have the Batman one on DVD.
I'm
Of course
sorry,
you did.
especially when you gave them the bat
we-
milk. But no, but when I used to watch Scooby-Doo as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
there were certain episodes that I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch the older, serious, scary ones.
The original 60.
Yeah, they were kind of scary.
The original 60 are legit scary.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're good. I
Those
love
are
them.
good.
those
They
are
are
the
the
best
best.
ones.
And then what happened was...
And then after that, the normal ones came on. And then when the Scrappy Doo ones came
Oh,
on, I shut the
Scrappy-Doo!
fucker off.
Okay.
I don't want to watch that crap.
if you're talking about Scrappy, you're like 4 or 5 incarnations deep.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Because Scrappy gets introduced in the
Yeah.
13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Oh God, it was horrible. I shut that off.
Yeah, we all
And
have Scrappy.
then even
Not
I
everybody.
I even remember my mom watching the Batman one and go, "What the hell's this crap?"
First off, they brought Adam West back to voice Batman.
Yes, they did.
All right, and the reason why that happened is...
We're just gonna devolve.
No, this is Scooby-Doo. This is very important Scooby-Doo history. The reason why Batman and Scooby-Doo crossed over in the first place was in the Super Friends, Casey Kasem voiced Robin. Casey Kasem's also the voice of Shaggy. So because he was already the voice of Robin and already the voice of Shaggy,
We can save
Hanna-Barbera did the Batman Scooby-Doo crossover.
Nice.
It was just bad.
I liked it.
It was horrible.
Anyway.
It is fun.
Those are the episodes I didn't like. I wanted the old scary ones. Those were
Those are the best.
original
those were the
60.
best ones.
They are.
All right, go ahead.
Which is good. Why is this so scary? Back to the book.
All right. Yes,
Okay,
good job.
okay,
Good,
okay.
good transition. I like that.
Transition.
Okay, as I am a huge Scooby-Doo fan.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
I own a original cell from the 60s of the actual.
You also have a Scooby-Doo mystery van piggy bank.
Yes, I do, but that's not nearly as cool
I
as
bet you I've seen a Scooby-Doo movie you haven't seen.
maybe not.
Okay, let's do that later.
Yeah. But I have a piece of the original series, a cell from. It's one of Shaggy's run animations.
I just imagine anything you've seen, I saw it first.
There are 44 animated Scooby-Doo films. I've
This
seen.
wasn't animated.
I've seen most of them.
So anyway, so yeah, I think that's what I liked is that it's way more.
He's probably seen it too.
Maybe.
Go ahead,
It's
Maylene.
way more grown up, and I like it because I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the cartoon. Obviously, I love it. The original, most of the incarnations that I've seen of the Scooby-Doo cartoon, I love as well. I've not seen all of them, like some people have, but of the ones I've seen, I loved, and I like the idea of taking that and having like a more. Like, okay, this is them after they're 20 and they have real life problems in addition to their, problem-solving problems. Because, you don't think about how would this affect a young kid after they,
Right.
grow up. Like, could you imagine being even 15 and, like, solving these crimes and catching these, even if they're not real ghosts, like,
Right.
you spend your adolescent doing something that almost no one else does. Who's going to be able to relate to you when you go to college, right? Or
I
Seriously.
never would have done that. I never would have gotten in the boat.
Right. So yeah, I think that's what I liked. And I really liked Nate. He was my favorite of the adaptation, the quote unquote Shaggy character. I think he was my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, he's pretty
And
awesome.
I was glad that they were able to keep Peter in it, like as
Yeah.
part of, but even though the character had died,
Yeah,
I was glad that he was still there in some way.
some form.
So okay, Brent, go.
All right. I said I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. I've seen almost every incarnation of Scooby-Doo. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this book.
You didn't finish the story.
I'm very close, but this book came
This is
out.
things you like.
Yeah, this is things I like. About once we get to the actual supernatural threat, the actual monsters, the goop monsters. That's when the story picks up for me.
Well, yeah.
That's like, okay, we are doing something different. We're pushing, I liked that, the action I thought was really well handled. And they're not analog. You said the term earlier.
Analog.
Yeah, but they're not. It's not.
They're not true
Yeah,
adaptations.
They're not true. It's not the game. This is for being something different, but still in the same mode. It's not bad. I liked their take on the Cthulhu mythos. But we'll come back around to that in a bit. But yeah, it's once we get to the monsters, and because there's moments where I'm reading the book, I'm like, get to the chase, get to the chase, get to the chase. Where are the monsters? Let's get to the chase.
I just imagine in Brandon's head thinking, Scooby-Doo,
Doo, where are you?
Yep.
We got some work to do now. But yeah, I ultimately, for all my problems with it, I did really get sucked into it. I did, the characters did become their own thing, and I ultimately did start grooving with. Once we got to the monsters, I liked it.
Okay. Justin.
I enjoyed the book. I liked how they put in the little
Nods.
to the
Scooby-Doo.
the Scooby-Doos and stuff like that, like the Zoinks River
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Zoinks.
Zoinks.
That's what Shaggy used to say all the time.
Zoinks. And of course, the canary and their little mentions of the monster traps throughout here and there throughout the book. I don't know. I'm easily amused. So, what else did I like?
What was your favorite character?
I like Nate.
I like Nate too.
He was funny.
He was kind of a crybaby stoner.
Shaggy was a stoner too. It was fitting.
Right?
Shaggy was written in the 70s like a stoner. Come
He
on,
was-
he had
he
the
was-
munchies all the time.
How can
be
you
real.
eat that much, not get any weight, and still be hungry?
Shaggy was a total.
No, he was written to be a hit. He was based off of.
He was a hippie
Yeah.
stoner. Come on.
Yeah,
He
come
was
on,
starting
man.
to say it that
They
you didn't
lived
want
in
to.
the-
No,
they lived
he-
in the mystery machine.
like-
Good lord, they were total stoners.
He
all of them.
he was no. He
And
was
he
based
spoke
off
to
of
a
a
dog,
character
I'm saying.
called Mater from The Many Loves of Darby Gillis.
Yep, stoner.
Yeah, stoner.
Anyway, you liked Nate. I
I
did
liked
too.
Nate in his interaction with Peter.
Oh, I know.
Mhm.
I know. I liked that.
And occasionally the interactions were quite terrifying for Nate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When Peter would
You know,
suddenly
just all of a
be
sudden,
decayed
he's all
and like
decayed
gross,
and-
like I'll help you into the boat. I couldn't resist. You're like,
Like, wow.
okay.
Reminded me of American Werewolf in Paris,
Yeah.
where he sees it.
Justin doesn't like
I don't
werewolf
do
stuff.
werewolf.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's
It's
fine.
okay.
But his buddy gets killed early on in the
Yeah,
movie.
and throughout the movie, he keeps showing up, and every time you see him, he's a little more decomposed.
yeah, his buddy's haunting him.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
excuse
Werewolf
me.
movies give him nightmares.
Really, really?
Yeah, they really do. Yeah,
Unfortunately.
you don't like zombies? You don't like werewolves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but zombies are real.
Well, there's werewolf werewolf writings going all the way back to Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, clay written.
Yeah.
There are werewolf stories
Dead
written.
have been around since Adam and Eve.
Oh my gosh, guys, let's go. What else did you like about the book, Justin? It's not a competition here.
there are 4 men in this room. There's going to be some kind of competition.
We need a girls' book club.
When we don't measure if my book is longer than your book.
Let's see what else.
Sorry, derailed you.
I have to say I liked the car because it took a licking and kept on ticking.
Mostly. I had to fix it a few times, but yeah.
And it just kind of...
It was not as cool as the Mystery Machine.
No, it wasn't, but it kind of reminded me of some of the old cars I had when I was a teenager. And you just abuse the hell out of it, but somehow it just still keeps running.
With its silly racing stripes.
Silly racing stripes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
I also liked Nate a lot. I liked Tim, the dog, but I didn't like that his name was Tim. But we're not talking about dislikes. Because he's based on Scooby-Doo. Why couldn't he have a dog name? Why did he have a normal person name? Sorry. But I loved him. I loved his character, and I thought it was really cool that he was the old shaman spirit was in him, and that Nate actually did raise the dead. When he read the Cthulhu Mythos, he just didn't raise the bad guy. Yeah. He raised the good guy.
What's funny is
I liked that.
For some reason, even though I read it, I didn't it didn't stick in me. That's what happened. So when I were talking, I was like, oh, I don't remember that. For some reason, it just didn't stick in my head.
That's
for some reason.
The main scene, at the end, the ending scene of the book.
Yeah.
I loved that.
For some reason, I remember reading that,
right.
But
but that moment when the dog sits up straight and it talks about his mouth, the lips tightening, and suddenly he's speaking, and it's actually working. And Nate's like, this is what he wanted, but at the same time, he's a little freaked out. Yeah. But we finally got our Ruggy moment, except that he talked better. So...
actually, I'm a graduate from Harvard.
I appreciate that. I mean, he's like, it's still your dog. I'm just along for the ride, but, yeah, it's me in here too. That's why it worked. And the saliva on the silly penguin. I loved the penguin. It was funny. I loved the canary. I liked the reverse werewolf trap so much. I laughed. I was listening at work and I'm like taping up damaged books and listening to this one, and I was just laughing. It's just me in the library all by myself laughing at the reverse werewolf trap.
Methodically.
Yeah, maniacally, but just laughing, because I thought it was funny. Something else I was gonna... I don't remember what it was.
She said laughing maniacally made me think of maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh. I know, right? No, it wasn't maniacal. Just I was entertained. It was funny. There were moments that I thought were. Oh, there was a Monty Python reference. I thought was hilarious. It was like, yes, like Brave Sir Robin. We're talking about running away. We're running away, just like Brave Sir Robin. Let's go retreat.
I remember because after that I had the Bravely Bold Sir Robin. Yeah, that goes in my head.
Right. Yep.
10 minutes after I read that line.
Bravely ran away. Yeah. So that was those were some. There were some moments like that. There was a lot. There was some good nerdy references, and they weren't all. Yeah. It wasn't all Scooby-Doo, although I liked the Scooby-Doo. It wasn't all the Cthulhu Mythos. There was other things that were funny, and if you've read it or watched the movie, more movie stuff than TV stuff than it was book stuff, but just little references here and there for those of us who are familiar. It's there's a laughing moment, like even your author reference, which didn't click for me. I'm like, the name's familiar, but it wasn't clicking until you said something like, oh, of course, why didn't I remember that? So there was some good stuff like that. All right, dislikes. Papa, back to you. What didn't you like about the book that you recommended?
It's always hard. It's always the
critique.
Excuse me.
Very little, actually, that I disliked. One of the things that caught me by surprise was that the wizard's daughter was the villain.
She was one of my suspects.
Yeah.
I had actually moved her down on the suspect list, though, at one point. And then, she was probably like 4th on my suspect list when she finally popped. She'd been right in the top 2.
Yeah.
And she'd got... Actually, I suspected the aunt or uncle that I actually thought maybe the uncle had faked his death. When we're, I was like, oh, because it had to be someone that knew then, that knew how to get the teeth and all these things. And I was like, what if the uncle didn't really die and faked his death and it was really him? Like I actually suspected like people that we hardly saw in the book at all but were referenced to, more than her at that moment when it was revealed that it was her.
I will say,
but was it a her?
Well, she did start out as a her.
Yeah.
She said it's been done before. Remember how it was said that he was descended from a witch in Salem who was burned? There's a moment when Andy kicks her in the crotch and expected more of a reaction. I knocked her down, but she didn't. She's like, well, I kind of thought maybe you kept your
private parts.
Your birth parts.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Didn't you remember that he was descended from a witch in Salem? As I said, it's been done before. And you're like, oh, okay. That's what that meant. So she started out as a female. There was a male for a while because males had better power back in those days, and then went back to being a female. So, yeah. Anyway.
And there was always, and they make a point several times, like, why does it always go back to Salem?
Right?
They set that up.
Yeah, fucking Salem. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Yeah, because Nate kept saying, fucking Salem, why does he go back? Yeah.
Because they do set stuff. They set stuff.
They set up stuff.
They set stuff up that's a
that.
like recurring gag that does come back.
Yeah, there was a
to
payoff
be serious.
for that. Yes. So anyway, sorry. Where were we?
That's okay. It talks about at the end the canary coming and landing on the boot. And then the
she
boot moves
and she comes back like, did I miss it? And I call bullshit.
And there's
no way I don't care what kind of magic she had. She survived a missile.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Then she came up.
I don't mind the giant Cthulhu monsters, but this witch coming back. Yes.
This witch was a, you know what?
Yeah.
With a beep.
Yeah. I called BS on that too, but she managed to get away, so she could come up. If there's more books in the series, she could come back, I suppose. But
yeah, I really don't expect her to, but
no,
she could, I suppose.
But yes, I agree with you. That's although I liked that scene with the canary because we liked the canary,
right?
And it was written really well. And then she was alive again, still, and I was like, what? No.
But I liked the way the lake monsters were done.
This is dislikes.
Yeah, he just remembered it. He's adding it in. It's okay.
And it
was a proper Cthulhu monster with the lake
They were. And excuse me. They drew me in.
Yeah.
And
the monsters were good.
There wasn't a lot there that I didn't care for.
Okay.
All right. Dave? Oh, he's getting his reading glasses on.
Yeah, I'm getting my reading glasses on. At first, I'm like, oh man, is this going to be some kind of Scooby-Doo ripoff?
Well, that's what it is. They're analog Scooby-Doo characters.
I mean, I watched Scooby-Doo, and I watched it for a long time, ever since I was a kid, and I was really hoping this wasn't going to be a ripoff of it, and it kind of was.
It's not a ripoff.
But
it's an homage.
Yeah.
To it.
I'd have to say that the character that I really didn't like was Andy. I just like, I'll just leave it at that.
She was all over the place, like, oh, I did military training, I did this, I did that.
No.
Yeah, we'll say yes to that.
Because she was.
Go there.
Keep going.
Yeah. There was that part of it there.
I think I know, so let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, there's just references to a ripoff, like Zira, the Princess Warrior, was a ripoff to Xena.
Well, they couldn't.
I know, but it's just like, why?
Well, no, it's not that there was a ripoff. He didn't have the rights to use
I
a
know.
copyrighted name, so he's referencing something so you know what it's supposed to
Yeah,
be
I know.
without him stepping on copyrights. I had respect for that.
And then I'm 80 pages in, and I go, where's this story going? 'Cause
It
I'm-
takes a while to get.
Yeah, I'm like,
Get going.
I'm 80 pages in, and they're still traveling across America.
Some of the car stuff could have been cut.
Yeah. Let me see. What? With so much shit? Oh, never mind. I'm just trying to figure out what I wrote here. I don't care that I wanted to solve the case. I wouldn't be rowing a boat with only 1 hour of daylight left. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, right. That was good.
Never mind. There's another scene there that we can't talk about. Oh yeah. Another one was when he found that box of dynamite. I went like, I wouldn't be touching that.
No,
crap.
I wouldn't even be.
Oh,
How
breathing.
old it
Right?
was.
Yeah, because
Yeah, for sure.
that would be so unstable.
Just picture touching it and boom!
And then the lights going out. I went, wow, that's such a cliche. And I wouldn't have taken the dog with me. I mean, I would have left the dog at home. Why the hell are you taking a dog into a mine like that for?
I wouldn't have taken him down in the mine. I
Yeah.
thought that was ridiculous too.
I just went, oh man.
Because
They should have made the elevator functional and gotten over that part.
Yeah.
Right. I was.
You know what I mean?
I was
Like-
okay with that because she was so adamant about not splitting up.
I know, but at the same time,
But a dog.
But he could have stayed with Al, Captain Al, and that wouldn't have really been splitting
No, man, I
up.
would have left
Yeah.
the dog at the house, and here you go. There's a food bowl.
No, the dog is part of the detective team.
No garbage. I just thought that was.
He wasn't
it was a-
Scooby-Doo.
It was a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm really surprised. I mean, after all the crap that they saw in the attic, I'm really surprised they let Nate take the book. I'm like, yeah, that thing's
Like,
made
you
out
know
of
what?
human skin. You are not touching that thing.
Well, even so, do you remember the last time you opened that book? Do we
Yeah.
really want to leave it with you? Like, the person who read from it not once when we were teens, but twice, because, during the book he reads it again.
And then Dunia summoned the creature because she wanted to see it because she was bored.
Yeah,
I'm
but she's been alive for several hundred years.
I just went,
Or 1,000. Long time. That's the problem when you're basically immortal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I put Dunia survived with a sad face. The bonus scene in the book, I just didn't really see where they were going with that. I didn't really understand it.
They're setting up the second book.
Is that all it is?
He's the
Because-
main, he's the main character in the second book.
Yeah,
I believe
'cause-
it's called "There's Not Enough Space in this Body."
Yeah.
She has asthma.
Yeah, I just went, why? I mean, where did I mean, I vaguely remember a couple of the names of the people in the hospital, but I'm going, why do they care about that guy for? But other than that, it was just little nitpicky stuff.
All right.
Well, that's our next book.
No, we're not reading that. You got like another 12 in that box.
Okay, so for my dislikes, one of the first dislikes I had was, like, I don't mind fourth wall breaking.
I don't even know what that means.
That means like when
they draw
Deadpool
attention.
acknowledges you're reading a comic book, or when a character, like the fourth wall in a play is the imaginary wall. It's when the characters look and talk directly to the audience.
As if we're in
Like,
the place.
can you believe this guy? They're talking to the audience out. They step out of the scene to talk to the
But
audience.
what, I mean, how did that have to do with the stairs? That you guys are, I mean, that you guys
What?
talking about the fourth wall. But
Oh no, because Wayne was talking about how after that scene, they mentioned, because there was that break between this part of the story and this part of the story,
Yeah.
and they mentioned in the first sentence right here, look
This
at
chapter
this chapter
sucks.
ended, this
Like
is-
it is the character acknowledging they're in a piece of fiction.
that they're in a new chapter.
Where?
In that scene, that there was a break, and then they're like, in the
This-
space of this break, this is what happened during that space break kind of thing,
Like, it is literally the character acknowledging they are a fictional character.
Like right here. Okay, I got examples here, okay? Nathan's reaction shot. Okay, right here, page 66 in our book.
They
reference Nathan's reaction shot, which is basically saying this is how he reacted. As a reader, you have to know this. A blank, and then right here, page 177. A blank meaning. This is what they're talking about.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. And then right here, Andy spat at the intended end of the chapter.
That blank space.
So he's saying,
obviously,
fuck
the
this
chapter
to the
should
chapter.
have ended, but I say F that, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
So she's completely taking it out of the story.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of a character pulling out the script, and that's not supposed to happen in the script, like in Mel Brooks' Men in Tights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's.
Okay, I see where you guys are going with that, but I didn't picture it that way.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
I looked at it as her saying F this, and she didn't want to let Nate die.
Right.
But when the character's internal monologue is referencing the chapter, the book you are reading.
No, I didn't see it that way.
She says, "Fuck this chapter."
No, I understand what you're saying, but I just
didn't
picture it like that. I looked at like intended end of the chapter was me picturing that she wasn't intending for Nate to die.
Yeah.
I didn't look
That's
at
okay.
it.
That's
I didn't
okay.
look at it as
It's all right.
this.
It's just it's a literary thing that some people do, and
I didn't even.
some people
it didn't
don't
even
like
dawn
it.
on me.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So
It's the comic book equivalent of Spider-Man grabbing the panel border.
So.
And acknowledging he's in a comic.
Okay, so for me,
Oh, didn't even notice.
I feel like it worked. Some of the things that he talked about.
Some of the places worked and some of them didn't.
Some of them worked, some of them did, and I feel like it would have come across as a lot funnier if it was actually in a movie or.
Right, as opposed to a book.
I like the Deadpool one.
Yeah,
Those
like
things are
yeah.
It's funnier in a show, but I feel like for the book, it just took me out of the book.
I agree. Like it wasn't necessary.
Another example is
as humorous.
On my page 348, it says 2 blank lines later. I'm like, did you have to okay, yeah. So there were several of those
that irritated you. Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim approached the ajar door, anticipating the next chapter entrance. I was like, oh God, really?
Yeah.
I probably didn't even realize what they were doing.
Yeah, so a lot of those, I feel like in book form for me, they don't work as well. If you're gonna do, I don't know. I feel like
if you want to do that kind of thing, wait till you get a TV show rights or something, and then do it. It doesn't have to be that way in a book. I get it.
I didn't even realize what that was. I'm not really even bothered by it at all.
So, okay, another thing is, I wonder if he initially intended for this to be a show or a movie or something, because the whole...
Sometimes it felt like a script.
It did.
Yeah. And you wonder
if
he had originally written it as a script and it didn't do well and decided to turn it into a book.
Wasn't there like a TV show called Meddling Kids or something?
I don't know.
No.
But if you look at the book, I know you guys have the audio version of it. There are parts where it's written like a script. It says, Nate, blah, 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 Carrie.
Well, and that's what he did in the audio. He says, Nate, da-da-da-da. And then it says the name and then what they say.
And it's written exactly
it's written like a script. But it's not that way all the time, so it's weird.
Yeah. So
it's like
these are just
I
things
think
that
he
were
played too much with different literary things and didn't stick with one.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. If he had stuck with one or two, okay, it would have been a lot better. Not as jarring.
I see where you're having studied English and script writing and all that kind of and plot, all that, taking all those classes. I understand.
A lot of these brought me out of the book. And if he had just stuck to either just the script thing, or if he just stuck to the fourth wall break, then it wouldn't bother me as much, because I was like, okay, this is his style. This is nothing that I can be mad about. It's a legitimate style, but
it didn't affect me.
But it just
that's fine.
I just thought I think he probably did that way because there were so many characters in the book.
Maybe, possibly, but I don't know.
I think he did it when the action speeded up, because writing it like that made the dialogue flow more quickly
than Nate said or Carrie said or whatever.
Well, yeah, but you can still write their things in quotations without having to have every character say he said, she said, because then it's a back and forth, and you're like, okay, they're just having this as a conversation back and forth. I've read books where they've had that,
and usually the characters have enough of a differentiating differentiated voice that you can tell sometimes, even if it doesn't say who it was, you know who it was because you've gotten familiar with how they sound, how they're written. So it's okay. Yeah.
And now knowing that it was his second language, English is very impressive. I think that's amazing because I don't know if I'd be brave enough to write in a second language. You know, if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write in my native English so that I know aesthetically what I want, blah, blah, blah.
Did he actually write it in English?
He wrote it in English. No, he wrote it in English.
Oh, okay, because I would assume the translation team would have...
Nope, he wrote it in English.
That's why I feel like some of the things didn't come across. Like, one of the things that was supposed to be like a fourth wall break, it would have been funnier if he had worked on it better, I feel. And it was the line on my page, in my book, it's page 156. He said, "The night was cold but gentle, like some kind of X-rated metaphor." And it's like, could you have like thought of an X-rated metaphor, or
right? I mean, it felt like he didn't add a few things in the book anyway. Like, it's funny. There was some point where he said Tim thought or barked, like, and it wasn't what he actually said. Oh, yeah, like when Tim barked a 4-letter word. Yeah. You've used a billion 4-letter words, but you're not going to say that Tim barked the F word or whatever it was, you know? Like, shit or whatever, whatever you wanted to use. No, he barked a 4-letter word. Yeah. Okay, you just used the F word 4 times on the previous page, but okay, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it seemed silly to me. Yeah. You know, and he added a lot of...
They could tell he was barking a 4-letter word, they just didn't know which one.
It was the tone of the bark.
I know, but I just thought it was silly when he it seemed like he used cuss words more often than necessary.
Right, because he's overcompensating for...
Because he wants to make sure it's grown up and not a kiddie thing.
Yeah.
I felt it was a little more than it was needed. Not that it was... I felt like it was
the other thing that kind of bothers me is knowing that this is... I didn't realize until Brandon said it tonight that this is their first edition. I don't know if he did this intentionally or if this was an accident, like on the editor's part or what, but there are 3 different spots in our book where they're like 10 to 15 words squished together like one word.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that.
Like right here. Okay, I pulled it up because...
It may have just been because it was the first edition. I don't
know. It might have been just because it was the first edition, but we'll see where to go.
Words squished together.
It's page... What was it? Okay, page 66. Where is it? Oh, gosh, I just had it. No, where did it go? I did get the right page.
You didn't highlight it?
66.
Oh, no, 67, sorry. I didn't highlight it because I didn't have a highlighter at the time. Right here. The head nurse in her station screamed, "Hey, hold that," and then after that it separates.
But maybe it was just an editing.
I think it was an editing printing problem. I don't think it was like that.
So many times in our copy of the book that I don't think it's an editing error. Where all the dialogue is slammed together.
There are 3
so
different
it sounds like an affect where the character is just like... There's no space between
the
words.
That seems weird.
I don't know. Here. We just did. By the time we get to... It's like so many words.
Didn't do that.
We just did.
They must have changed it later then.
Yeah. And there was one other time too, which I won't read it.
My
but
book didn't do that.
Yeah, so I was like...
The only thing they squeezed together was all the Cthulhu jibber jabber.
Yeah. What? You're not going to start quoting the Necronomicon, David?
How do you know that I haven't already? It's written
and then your table. On page 260 of our copy, is when Nate reads from the book again. I'm like, Nate, you idiot!
Don't do it!
Stop it!
So like he's reading out loud on the door in the cave, and you're like...
And I'm like, oh!
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm okay with that because in my head canon, his brain is already wired to the... So in my head canon... That was just 2 parts linking up, and this is coming out without his consent.
Right.
I was okay in the cave. When he reads
from the book again, you're like,
no, but when he opens the book, it's like, come on.
So, well, I mean, he needed it to banish. Yeah, I get that, but you're just like...
There should have been a separate book to,
right?
Like, here's the good book that closes the portal.
I'm almost done. Okay, real quick. I think they treat Joey like shit. I understand he was a bully. I understand that growing up, I've been bullied before. It sucks, and you do not want to forgive your bully. I understand that.
They let him join them eventually.
Yeah,
but they also he was their bully who treated all of them like crap, and they didn't want to replace Peter because it wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
But they did end up letting him join them, and he's the new jock. He replaced Peter.
right.
He's the new Fred. He's not really the leader, though, but he's the jock. So, but yeah, at first they were, because they also didn't know if they could trust him. How could you trust someone who treated you like that?
Right.
And they don't know who the bad guy is. For all they know, he's the one writing the notes.
True. I honestly thought he was at first, to be honest.
I liked Joey because he was an analog of Red Herring from a pup named Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, he was.
So I was okay with that. Anytime you're going to reference Red Herring and from a pup named Scooby-Doo, I'm happy.
My last two, okay. I didn't like the one long sentence that they have during the fight sequence. And then I guess in Dave and Wayne's copy of the book, there's an added chapter at the end talking about the people who
setting
break
up
out.
the next book.
Setting up the next book, which wasn't in ours. Maybe because it was a first edition. Maybe he didn't have that then.
Right, or maybe he may not have been deciding to write a second book.
And so if you listen to the audiobook, there is a version of the audiobook, because I guess you guys...
It wasn't in the audiobook, you guys.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Brandon, out of what you read...
I'm
messing with you. Go ahead.
I'm pretty much made to the end.
Almost.
No, you're nowhere near.
That got me through.
This came out July 11th, 2017. The Kickstarter that I launched for my Scooby-Doo analog parody book came out November 2nd, 2016, called Those Meddling Kids. I'm not saying he ripped me off, but if he wants to send me a check, I'll cash it. All right, because I published Those Meddling Kids online before this.
Okay.
Sue him.
If I had the
All right.
All right. I chose Those Meddling Kids because that's the name of the actual trope of a group of meddling teenage, from tropes.com.
Well, maybe that's why he couldn't use Those Meddling Kids and had to make it Meddling Kids only.
Still, I'm a little sore about it. It is a point of contention.
Got it. Okay, so moving from that.
Neil Gaiman feels.
Huh?
Now you know how Neil Gaiman feels.
Oh.
Okay, we're not going on. We did that already.
All right. The other thing is the inciting incident is set in 77.
Right.
All right. I have no idea why he chose 77.
I don't know.
Scooby-Doo debuts in 69. I can't understand why he chose 77.
When was this book written?
17.
Oh, yeah, you did say that. Sorry.
So
maybe he was born in 77.
Well, but it was their last case after several summers of doing it. So you're talking about the end of the Scooby-Doo series.
Okay, 70.
That makes sense.
True. However, they were still teenagers. Like
They were
13.
13.
So
Their last case is they're 13.
Yeah.
It was between the ages of 13 and 17. So
right. I don't know. I don't know. I'm
It's
just saying because it's maybe that's when he was born. I don't know. Maybe that date has something important to him personally.
Maybe that was when the show ended or around the show.
Right. I don't know. We could ask him.
Yeah. I don't know why 77, but the crux of the novel takes place in 1990.
He was born in 81.
All right.
In Barcelona, Spain.
It's one thing for the narrator to make references to stuff. They make the characters themselves make references to stuff that haven't happened yet. They talk about Captain Planet as I liked that cartoon. Well, Captain Planet doesn't come out until 3 months later, right? Because Captain Planet debuts in September of 90.
Oh, see, I didn't catch some
So
of that.
there's a bunch of things like that as a cartoon buff that make me.
Sound like Mr. Ed?
Yes, because they talk about Captain Planet very lovingly as I loved that show when I was a kid.
You couldn't have.
Yeah, you couldn't have because it just debuted.
Yeah,
that is only if the story is taking place in September of 90. So there's a bunch of
some inconsistencies and things that needed to be taken care of.
Yes,
because 77 plus 15 is what.
Well, the story itself takes place in 1990.
Yeah. So how can they say that as a kid when it just came out?
Well, but I thought it was 15 years later.
They do say 15.
13 years later, wasn't it?
What's 77 plus 15?
Well, when you read 92? The actual thing online, it says
1992.
No, 1990.
By 1990.
By 1990.
Yeah.
The
And the last
Reunite,
case was in
1990.
67.
I was just looking. The original Scooby-Doo series
Does it end in 77?
ended in 76.
So 77 is still not even right.
So
Okay.
maybe he.
These are things that. So I've written my own Scooby-Doo
I
analog
understand.
parody.
I understand.
My other big complaint is, okay, if you're going to do, there's two reasons to do analog characters. One, you don't own the rights. Famously, George Lucas created Star Wars because they wouldn't let him make a Flash Gordon film. Because that's what he wanted to make, Flash Gordon.
Thank you.
And he created Star Wars because they said no.
Good. Thank goodness. We like Star Wars. Okay.
Not the woke one though.
I would have liked to have seen what he did with Flash Gordon. That's just me.
Okay, that's fine. But
the,
I'm just saying.
the
I'm glad
other
it's
reason
Star Wars.
why to do an analog character is if you're going to do something so drastically different that it would alter those characters.
Well,
Right.
Necronomicon.
I'm going to get to that.
And they actually had to move.
Because Scooby-Doo proper has crossed over with Cthulhu
Okay.
in the actual series as season 2 of A Mystery Incorporated.
Okay.
Scooby-Doo this does nothing that Scooby-Doo hasn't already done other than the F words.
Well, maybe he's trying to do something different and pay homage at the same time.
Right, but it doesn't do anything that Scooby-Doo itself hasn't already done. Even the lesbian stuff, there are versions of Scooby-Doo that imply that. Scooby-Doo meets the Loch Ness Monster. It's an animated film. There's heavy implications of Daphne and Velma. But there is nothing in this book. When you get to Mystery Incorporated season 2, they actually meet an author called Hatecraft. And he is working at Mesotonic U. They flat out do Mesotonic U, and they do Scooby-Doo itself proper has crossed over with the Lovecraft mythos.
Yes.
Yeah, because Miskatonic University is in Gotham.
So, like I said,
And where is Gotham?
It's in Arkham.
it depends on what universe you're in.
Well, Arkham
Okay.
Arkham is the insane asylum.
No. Arkham was the town. That
Arkham.
was the Arkham Asylum because of the asylum in the
Yeah.
town.
Yes,
Yeah, but where is Arkham? It's in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
So
Salem.
I think Salem.
Salem. Effing Salem.
Living Salem. So, I mean, even the whole, we're getting the gang back together. There's a great Scooby-Doo movie called Scooby-Doo what was it? The Mystery Island, Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island, where they're older and we're bringing the team back together after years of being apart, and there's contention between the group. There is nothing in this book other than the profanity that Scooby-Doo proper hasn't already done.
Okay.
So,
Did they have a Chevy Vega?
Oh my gosh. They might have. I don't know. I think
Did they have a
it's
dead Fred?
Drop Dead Fred. Oh, I love that movie. Sorry. That's
Okay.
I've never seen it. Sorry.
There's a version of Scooby-Doo that Hanna-Barbera did called The Funky Phantom, where they did have a version of a ghost. That was kind of, again.
It wasn't one of the crew
Yes,
team, was it?
Yes, he was. He was a member of the team of the Funky Phantom.
Well, was any of it written by Edgar Cantero?
No.
There you go.
Okay.
That's different.
The other problem is if you are going to reference the Funky Phantom with Pete being a ghost, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't, except at the end, I guess he's resurrected. But the Funky Phantom at least was kind of a team member and can play along and do stuff.
Okay, but there's a couple times where I think he really was a ghost because at one point he goes, "What's that?" and points something out, and Nate's looking the other direction and has to look where he's pointing.
Oh no, I
So
believe he
there's
was a ghost.
moments like that where I'm like, I think he's really a ghost. I don't care what Nate thinks.
I think
didn't
Nate
he
wants him to be a delusion,
I
but
think so too.
He's a
I think so
ghost.
too.
And didn't he actually pick up the darts?
Oh, he did. He picked up the darts. He used Nate's comb. He could have probably helped him out of the water if he hadn't played a gag on him and made him not want to touch him. So yeah, because he interacts with things.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But my point is, like, when Alan Moore did The Watchmen, he wanted to use, the Charlton characters, And DC said no, so he created his own analog, and he did something different with the Charlton characters. This guy is playing with Scooby-Doo characters, and he's doing nothing different that Scooby-Doo doesn't already do. I feel like I've seen this version of this story done so much better by Warner Brothers, by Hanna-Barbera proper.
Okay.
But then again, I'm the freak who's watched almost all 42 Scooby-Doo animated films. So not everybody's watched.
He said he's a freak.
Yeah, not everybody's watched the Scooby-Doo and the Witch.
So anything besides your absolute mega nerdisms that are bothering you about this book?
I couldn't enjoy it because of my absolute nerdism.
Okay, I'm just asking.
You know, because again, like if you're going to reference Captain Planet, but it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going
I remember Captain Planet. I hated it.
Captain Planet, he's our hero.
Okay.
Gonna bring pollution down to zero.
So you're good? So you don't have anything else you want to... Justin, what didn't you like about the book?
The main thing I didn't like about the book is sometimes I wish it would just move along. It just... There are bits of the story.
Keep going. Yeah, go.
Okay, get on with the story.
Why are we listening to them playing games in the car?
You know,
right? Unless it's forwarding the mystery.
There's a few times I just had to stop and go to something else just so I'd have a break. Just because it wasn't moving along for me.
I looked at it as a character development type of thing.
Yeah, I can see that, but
you wanted to get really detailed so you could get involved with the story, I guess.
But I don't know, just that was my biggest thing.
Okay. Cool. Anything else that hasn't already been mentioned?
No.
A lot of things have been mentioned.
Sorry, I know.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. One thing that nobody's mentioned that threw me, and I kept waiting for Andy to have magical powers. Because in the very the second scene where we see her, she sucks the last bit of magic out of this talisman, which turns out to be the squeaky toy stress ball thing that she gives to Tim, and it's the awesome penguin we see throughout the rest of the book that we love. But it literally says she squeezed the last magic out of it. But we didn't know what it was. If you had said she squeezed the heck out of her stress ball to keep from punching these guys, that would have been fine. Then I would have known it was a stress ball. But she said it was like he said talisman and he said magic. So I'm waiting for her to have magic powers. I'm thinking the reason she's able to beat these guys up so much is not just because of her training, but because she just used some magic to bulk herself up.
I didn't even...
And then that was not ever a thing. The only person who had any magic was the evil villain and Nate. Andy had none. And the thing is, and then she talked about she personified, I realized she was in love with her, but she personified the hair. So there were moments where she everything's shooting through outer space. I kept expecting her to have some sort of mystical thing that never happened. It's just how he wrote stuff. So that irritated me because it threw me off. Yeah. Because I'm like, I was coming into it knowing that it was Scooby-Doo. When he gave me his copy to read before we even had it for thing, he'd said it's Scooby-Doo and Cthulhu mixed together, and I'm like, awesome. I'd forgotten that it was Cthulhu, but I knew that it was later on, and there was actual magic, and it turned out that the whole thing is to go solve what was the real magic power behind this. So I was expecting magic. So when he uses the word magic in the first chapter of the main event here, it not the prelude where it talks, but we're meeting the characters, we're about to meet, anyway, she beats the guys up when she's going, but I'm just like, it threw me off, and I was expecting Andy to have magic, because he used that word. He used magic and talisman, when all she was doing was squeezing her penguin squeaky toy to keep from punching them prematurely before she goes and kicks their asses.
It's funny because I didn't think about it that way, but until I mentioned it.
Because he did. That's how he described it. That's her. And so I'm expecting real magic. I like fantasy. I don't mind if there's mystery and fantasy all combined together. That's great.
Yeah.
So when he said magic talisman, or pull magic out of the last magic out of the top, that's what I thought. So I was really thrown for a while, expecting her to have magic powers that she obviously did not have. She just had anger issues and was really well trained to beat the crap out of people. Okay, awesome.
Which is probably why I liked it, because I've got friends like that.
Right, but so that's one of the only things that you guys haven't mentioned that I had a problem with, and it was because it set up the character in my mind totally differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because all we saw her choke out the guy in the bathroom, and he started quoting. Well, and that's the other thing.
I liked that scene.
I liked that scene.
I thought
but her initial
that was
thought
really
when
well
he
done.
started quoting what he heard being read from the Necronomicon, because it's lodged in his brain, because he heard it.
Yeah.
Because the Necronomicon is evil like that. She's blasphemy. How does she know it's blasphemy? She didn't know. She didn't know that from
She
shit.
doesn't even know what it is.
Exactly. So when she says blasphemy, I'm like, oh, she knows what this is. She's got an idea. And then she has magic that she's pulling from a talisman. Yeah, she's going to be our magic user. No, she's not. At all.
No.
Not even close.
She's just a woman with some knuckles.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with those 2 moments, and those are the only 2 moments we've seen her, we haven't even met half the team yet. I'm expecting her to be magical, and she's not. And so it threw me, and it took me a while to figure her out, because I had her set up in my brain as being magical, and then Nate was, and that's fine. Nate was awesome. I love Nate. I totally love Nate. I loved the scenes where he's just like, he just needed his time out in the asylum. He checked himself in, and he loves hanging with these people who are worse off, at least as bad off, or most of them worse than he is.
Well,
because they're fun, and because he can see they're fun, and that he gets them. And he can have conversations with them, and he can...
There are other versions of the Cthulhu. Once you've read that book, it's stuck. Like
and it messes with you. No, I'm familiar with the Cthulhu mythos.
Most Cthulhu stories end with, I've gone insane,
absolutely. And because he is a powerful sorcerer in his own right, which he didn't realize, but he is,
Mm-hmm.
Tim told him he was, and I believe a shaman, anyway, who's been around for, eons.
Mm-hmm.
So, that I'm like, okay, so he already had something innate in him. That's why he was able to read it to begin with. But he also must have some innate protection that he hasn't gone completely off the
because the one guy just heard the verbiage
Yeah.
from the other room, and it's still in his head.
Yeah, and he never wants to go back. He spent 13 years in jail just so he wouldn't have to go back there, because it's haunted him for this whole time. He still remembers it, and so, which is important. He needed to say it so that Andy could hear it, so Tim could remind her of what she'd heard one time, so she could say it backwards, so we could seal the deal. I get that. You haven't got to that point, but that's...
I figured...
But what he said to her was what he overheard. It's the only thing that's not written down, and it was the releasing words, the last... So when they're doing it, they have to use those, but they have to use them backward in order to send him back.
Okay.
To seal him away. And so Tim, the dog, locks eyes with Andy, and the shaman is helping her remember what she heard in the bathroom with she's got choking the old guy, so she can remember, okay, so if it's backwards, it would sound like this. And she says it, and that triggers the thing. So it's important, and that was a nice bookend. It was important. But again, where she yells blasphemy, and then the magic and the talisman, and she's not magical, and I was so, So that's my one thing that I had a problem with. Because
it didn't even dawn on me.
Right, but I was listening to it, and I'm an auditory learner, so something like that jumped out at me because I'm expecting certain things,
I am
and
not
then
an auditory learner.
I know.
I'm a hands-on learner.
I know. But anyway, so for me that was something that was, I felt was something that was set up that wasn't set up properly.
That's one
in
thing,
my brain.
That makes sense. One thing that someone mentioned was, I love, now that it has been mentioned, I do like the fact that Nate was in the asylum because he was around people who, like you said, were worse off. I mean, if you want to feel good about how bad your life is for whatever reason,
right?
I mean, not saying that you have to do it, but sometimes it helps to know, hey, I'm not the worst.
I'm not
here.
alone.
I'm not alone. I'm not the most. My life is not the most screwed up it could possibly be. I could be like that person or that person who doesn't have. What I mean? It's kind of like a guy, with what's that proverb? It's like, joke was like the guy with no shoes go talk to the person without legs kind of thing.
Right.
It's like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, my situation does suck. Not trying to invalidate that at all, but
I need to know I'm not alone here. There's other people who
other
feel
people-
bad or worse, and okay, maybe
either-
I can look at
yeah.
my situation differently.
yeah, and not saying that his situation doesn't suck. It
Right.
sucks.
Right.
He is definitely worse off than there are people who do have it better than him, but
Like
you know.
okay, like that moment when and granted it turns out that she's the villain, but when they're at her house and it's just Andy and Nate because she never even met our redhead whose name just escaped me for a second, Carrie. So Carrie's like, who's this at the end? She's like, I don't even know who the bad guy is because I never met her because I was doing an autopsy on her,
Right.
on monsters and stuff. But where she's saying, well, no, because if you anyone who'd been used in that way would feel, they'd have constant nightmares. They'd deal with depression and hallucinations and all these things. They might even and suicide. And they look at each other like, oh crap! All four of us have had to deal with that. And that's when they realized that they were used. But she's like, but I'm just saying, obviously not anybody here, whatever,
Yeah.
But
she's later on like, you weren't possessed. I was just naming off stuff that every 25-year-old says.
right, which was funny. But you realize, they've all dealt with all this stuff because of everything they went through.
Yeah.
Hopefully the nightmares finally go away for most of them. I don't know if Nate's will though. He's read out of Necronomicon too many times.
Right.
But anyway, so that was final thought.
The thing is,
Yeah.
where did the book go?
He had it. He still had
I
it.
know, but after everything was gone, he still has it.
That's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. He took
He
it from the
still
island.
has
He
the
still has it.
thing.
He used it to talk to the shaman inside Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
My thought was he
still
has
that
it.
damn
Like
thing.
It's
what?
been months.
Has
The
it.
girls have spent all summer at the pool, and he's messing with the Necronomicon upstairs. Oh,
Yeah.
and he didn't tell them. They don't know.
if Brandon had the Necronomicon and he had been through everything that Nate had, and I found out he had it, I would take that book and smack him with it and throw it in the garbage. Like, no. This
You
is
can't just throw it in the
no.
garbage. But you'd have to try to burn it, but it's not going to actually burn. You'd have to bury it and lock it away like Jumanji, and still someone will find it.
So I'll find it, right?
It's that evil. Yeah.
Or it'll end up in Bruce Campbell's hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm saying this
It'll end up in
is
ashes
why
hands.
Nate can't have good things.
I know.
He can't have nice things.
This
because
is it. Final thoughts.
I enjoyed it. Read the book. I give it a 8 out of 10.
David.
Same.
yeah, it was good. I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Brandon hates it.
I know.
He didn't read it all.
He gives it 2 stars.
Just go to Voodoo or whatever and rent Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. It has the Necronomicon in it. It has, again, everything in this book Scooby-Doo's already done.
Well, as the book said several times, it's been done before.
Yeah.
It's been done before.
I think Salem.
That one actually takes place in Salem.
Just in
The Witch's Ghost.
Oh, I love it.
Figures.
Effing Salem.
I enjoyed the book for the most part, and I don't know, I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah, I mean, it's Scooby-Doo versus in Cthulhu, and yes, there's movies you can watch. Brandon's named them. It's okay. You can also read the book. It's good too. All right, so
I can't endorse it until I get my check.
you haven't finished it, so
All right, Wayne, this was your book.
so you get to pull from the TARDIS.
TARDIS.
I can talk. Row, Rocky.
It's like a Batman situation. Like the circus.
Where are you? All right,
What is it?
what's it gonna be?
Suspense.
Would you like me to read it? Please?
Sure.
The Killing Floor.
The Killing Floor by Lee Child.
There we go.
Oh,
That's a Jack Reacher novel.
It's the
That's
first
the
Jack
very
Reacher
first
novel.
Jack Reacher novel.
So-
Justin put that in.
Yes, he did. All right.
Perfect timing with the
God,
Prime
that's
show.
not the Tom Cruise version.
No, it's not. So that's not the one he did.
All right, so next
All right,
month is
so-
The Killing Floor by
Lee Child.
Child.
All
I
right.
almost said Jack Reacher, but
No, Lee.
No,
It's
no.
about Jack Reacher. Not Lee. All right, well, we're the Bookies.
Bye.
Bye.
There you have it. That was Meddling Kids. Not those Meddling Kids, but Meddling Kids. Coming up is The Killing Floor by Lee Child, the novel that launched the I wanted to say Richard Stark, but that's not right. The novel that started the Reacher series, and it's a, not gonna lie, it's a brutal read. This one's probably gonna have a mature rating attached to it, just because of some of the content of the book. Again, it started the Jack Reacher series, but a good solid crime fiction novel. Goodreads has it as Southern fiction. I wouldn't call it Southern fiction. I call it criminal fiction or action adventure, or, but again, The Killing Floor by Lee Childs is what's up next. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you feel inclined in the chuckles of your heart to help support us, a like, a share, a comment goes a long way. But also, patreon.com/Destiny Comics, where you can get all kinds of cool book paraphernalia, as well as, destinycomics.weebly.com, where you can just buy our books directly from us. Some of us are aspiring authors and illustrators and cartoonists, and we are a bit of a collective. So I would like to thank you for your time and support, as always. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll stick around for the next episode as we dive into Lee Child's The Killing Floor.